Legends are often woven from the weirdest cloth of rumor, hearsay, and exaggeration. Then there's the real thing. Truth, stranger than fiction. Such is the life, and especially the death, of Gram Parsons.
Gram Parsons' death is the craziest situation you could ever imagine. It is absolutely insane.
Gram Parsons was a rich, boarding school, preppy kid who went to Harvard.
He was a trust fund kid, very wealthy family, and when he turned 21, he was getting $333,000 a year. But he didn't have the vibe of wealth at all. He was a hippie-hearted guy.
He labeled his style cosmic American music. No one had ever heard anybody make music like that before.
The way Gram Parsons attacked rock and roll music and attacked country music was just unique.
He looked great, he was tall, he was dynamic, you know, and then he had like all the right connections. He had 1 foot in country, 1 foot in rock and roll. He kind of had that swagger to him. He hung out with the Rolling Stones. Him and Keith Richards were friends. You know, he was kind of like the rock star that country didn't know that it really needed.
Yes, he made some great records, but it's the people that he ushered in, the Emmylou Harrises, Ricky Skaggs, and Rodney Crowell, and some of the other people. The influence that he had was far more important than any of the music he actually made.
He was a pioneer. He influenced so many bands. You know, the Grateful Dead did a country album. And there would be no Eagles without Gram Parsons.
Nobody really understands just how hard it is to do that and what kind of talent it takes to be truly unique.
By 1973, Gram Parsons is already on the verge of superstardom. He's already played with the Byrds and the Flying Burrito Brothers and has released his debut solo album, GP. He is pushing the boundaries of creativity with his music and his lifestyle.
They were definitely doing a lot more LSD than most country singers were doing in the early 70s.
He was the product of the times. You know, the experimentation was wild and people popped whatever somebody handed them, and I think it's just a matter of going with the flow. And that's kind of what that time, that era was about.
What Gram had done was incredible. He certainly had the talent. He just had a drug problem.
He came from 2 addicted parents, and with the combination of the money and the addictive personality, it was a lethal combo. You know, created a terrible storm.
Like many of his peer artists, Gram Parsons falls victim to his demons. A mix of morphine and alcohol causes an overdose. And Gram Parsons is dead at the age of 26.
Right on the brink of stardom, you have somebody that is right there on the cusp of something great, and they pass.
But Gram Parsons' passing unveils a stunning arrangement. A pact the singer made with his road manager, Phil Kaufman, that would make his death as memorable as his life.
Phil Kaufman, he called himself the road mangler. He had a real friendship with Gram, who trusted him to do what it was that he wanted.
Gram Parsons says, hey, if this happens and I die, here's what I want to have happen. No matter what anybody says, and you make it happen. And that's what Phil Kaufman did.
So Gram Parsons goes to a funeral of a buddy of his, a musician, and they're at the funeral, and there is no music. It's somber. It's the worst day in the world. And Gram was there with Phil, and Phil and Gram made a pact.
The pact was real. We were at the funeral, and after it was over, Gram said, if anything happens to me, I want you to take me out to Joshua Tree and, you know, have a few beers and send me into the atmosphere. So when he died, I knew what I was doing.
One problem. Parsons' family is in a rush to bury his body in, of all places, Louisiana. Meanwhile, Gram's coffin waits just outside Los Angeles on a loading dock at Van Nuys Airport.
Well, that's whenever Phil decides to honor his pact with Gram and steal the body and take it out to Joshua Tree.
So Phil Kaufman and his assistant get a Cadillac hearse or something.
I called up one of the girls that was with him who happened to own a hearse. And the rest is history.
They're gonna drive it to Gram Parsons' body, convince the people there that they're the ones that are gonna take the body to Louisiana.
They run out to the airport. Phil's very official because he's got all the documents. He's the guy. I mean, he's Gram's guy.
We went out there, we had cowboy hats on and jackets.
So he goes up and signs the papers to get the coffin, to get the body, signs the name Jeremy Nobody, and took the body.
And as I was signing Jeremy Nobody, a cop car pulled up. I said, what to do, what to do. So I'd signed the papers, I came out of the office, I said, okay, and they bought it, and off we went.
They take off, just the two of them, out into the desert.
Put the gasoline in, lit the match, and the essence of Gram was going up in the air, and that was it.
They kind of felt their obligation to their friend to do what they had to do. And I think Gram probably would have loved the whole idea.
Another problem. As Parsons' dying wishes rise from the desert sand, nearby campers spot the fire and rush to douse the flames. Kaufman is caught, arrested, and given a 30-day suspended sentence. But down south in New Orleans,
Gram Parsons' grandfather had this massive fortune from orange juice and grapefruit juice. His stepfather wanted his body buried in Louisiana because he thought it would give him the rights to Gram's inheritance.
Napoleonic law says that he has to be interred or a resident of Louisiana. Gram's stepfather then flies to LA to grab Gram's remains and send it back to New Orleans so he can get the inheritance. The story's amazing.
So all of this, moving his body from LA to Louisiana, which caused his friends to go and steal his body from the airport because they didn't want him to get buried in Louisiana, and then taking his burned remains and still burying them in Metairie, Louisiana, where the poor guy never lived. All of that was for nothing because of a misunderstanding of Louisiana law.
in the end, Parsons' estate is awarded to his wife, Gretchen. His tombstone has become a popular destination for cosmic cowboys mourning another music icon gone too soon.
Music's greatest mysteries, all new Sunday at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, only on Access TV.